Today we're going to be talking about Black Mirror Season 7. I'm going to be ranking the episodes from my least favorite to my favorite, and I have done an entire tier list video ranking every other Black Mirror episode if you want to know my personal taste and like my favorite episodes of all time in general. So I will link that tier list video up here. It seems to be a little bit controversial. A lot of people have a lot to say. I feel like the episodes that you're like passionate about, they're always very personal, I find. Like everyone feels very passionately about like a couple of episodes. I hope you still care about my opinion on Season 7. It has been out, I think now for a couple of weeks already. So hopefully you still want to hear my thoughts on all of the episodes. I'll be doing like mini reviews for each one, but I'm also going to be ranking them. As a whole, I did really enjoy this season. I liked it better than last season, I would say, and I felt like this season was a great balance of episodes that felt like a little bit more like old Black Mirror, like original Black Mirror, as well as like some gut-wrenching episodes that are very standard for Black Mirror, and then some fun ones. I like the fun ones too. Personally, I think there is nothing like watching Netflix, watching your favorite show like Black Mirror, and eating your favorite foods from your favorite restaurant, all without having to leave your house. So I just want to thank DoorDash for sponsoring today's video. I'm so excited to be working with DoorDash, which is a company that I use all of the time. Isn't it so great that we live in a world where you can get anything you need delivered right to your door, and with DoorDash, if you want it, you can get it. I am someone who hates battling those weekend crowds, so I will always opt in to stay home and order in, even when it comes to groceries or date night. Especially with the little one, like it's just easier to get our favorite food delivered sometimes than getting a babysitter so we can go out to a restaurant. As soon as I became a mom, DoorDash became an absolute essential for literally everything. Of course, we would have meals delivered, which was just out of convenience, but it was still a necessity, and it was so great that we had that option. Also, getting supplies delivered when everyone in the house is sick, if we need to stock up on fluids and medicine and things like that, and we just can't or shouldn't leave the house when we're sick, right? But DoorDash isn't just a door to groceries, flowers, medicine, literally anything you can think of. Using DoorDash means I never have to pause my shows or movies for too long. I can spend some quality time with my family at home, just eating my favorite foods in the comfort of my own home, which is just what this introvert loves to do. DoorDash is your door to more, so make sure you download the DoorDash app to get anything you desire delivered. If you use my code HORROR50, you get 50% off up to $10 on your first order of $15 or more. This is a limited time offer, so make sure you take advantage. Let's get into the ranking of Black Mirror Season 7. Now, another gentle reminder, this is my ranking. Your favorite episode might be my least favorite episode, and vice versa, and that's okay. Some people get very passionate about their favorite Black Mirror episodes. So, you know, that's fine. You can disagree. Leave a comment down below, at least telling me what your favorite episode of the season was. If you want to throw in your least favorite, that's fine. If you don't want to be negative, that's fine too. Starting in last place, we have episode 4, Plaything. An eccentric loner named Cameron, who harbors an obsession with the mysterious 1990s video game, is arrested in connection with a grisly cold case, and his interrogation soon goes to places the police weren't expecting. Now, this is said that it is not a direct sequel to Bandersnatch, but it is set 10 years afterwards in the same universe as Bandersnatch. And it has 2 of the same characters reprise their roles in this one. So for me, it's still a sequel. Like, how could it not be a sequel if it takes place in the same universe, has the same characters, it's 10 years later? In my head, it's a sequel, okay? They say it expands on the world created in Bandersnatch. Now, was Bandersnatch my favorite interactive episode? Movie? No, it wasn't. It's not my favorite, like, special episode of Black Mirror. It was interesting, and I like that they tried to do something different. So my biggest issue with Plaything is that the format reads a little bit boring. I just don't love the storytelling where you have someone just narrating and telling you verbally the entire story. We do have flashbacks, but I don't think it's enough to really portray the story, especially when you have a narrator for basically the entire episode. Something about that format, it just isn't as entertaining for me personally. Like, I want to watch things happen in real time and not have it be narrated by a singular character for the whole episode. And I feel like there were only 2 scenes that really had any big tension or had any impact really at all. And so otherwise the tension just wasn't there for me. I felt like the build up to it was a little bit boring. Just overall, I felt like the episode was lacking a lot. It is an interesting idea, and I really like the concept of it almost being a near apocalypse, or like changing the world in such a way that it would feel apocalyptic, kind of. And I like that. I like when Black Mirror goes big and like it impacts the world. I think that is really cool. So I appreciate the story and like the idea of Plaything, but overall it was my least favorite of the season. Next up, we have episode 3, Hotel Reverie. Hollywood A-list actor Brandy Friday is thrown into an unusually immersive high-tech remake of a vintage romantic movie. She's got to stick to the script if she ever wants to make it home. This is one of those episodes that has so many references to other Black Mirror episodes, and sometimes that can get a little bit cringy, like when they force it so much, like any opportunity to reference another episode they do, I'm just like, I want it to feel like its own thing too. Like, I get it, we're in the Black Mirror universe, but like, we can separate some of the episodes sometimes. Like, there are at least 7 references, and actually there's more than 7 references, but at least 7 episodes are referenced, and I just feel like that's a little excessive. Granted, every episode usually has some kind of reference or callback to another previous episode, but this one just felt like a lot. First thing I want to say, the score of this reminded me so much of Arrival. Like, it sounded, I was like doing a double take because I was like, is that the same song as in Arrival? Let me know if I'm alone in that, but it really stood out to me. I just had to mention that. I do love some time dilation, and this does do a little bit of that. Although I do wish they pushed it even more, or it was like more obvious and more of a focus in this episode. I wanted to spend more time in that and like focusing on the time dilation thing than anything else. So I'm gonna sound a little bit redundant to everyone else talking about this episode. I've seen other people say the exact same thing I'm going to. Performances were not believable. I'm sorry. There was no emotion behind Issa Rae's eyes in her performance. I'm sorry. And I know it's not her, because in interviews she gives so much in her eyes, and like you can see her thoughts. I don't know. I feel like the character maybe was directed that way, or it had something to do with the story itself. She's in a bizarre technology immersive experience, so I understand if she's like a little shocked and like weird about it, but I just felt like the whole, like, it just wasn't believable. And I don't know if it's supposed to feel that way because she's an actor playing an actor, so sometimes they act in a different way for the separate actor, you know what I mean, for the character actor versus how they actually are or how they actually act. So I don't know what was going on there, but I just didn't see any emotion, positive or negative, in her eyes. I didn't believe it. Now, as a movie lover, I obviously love the concept of this and like entering previous movies in order to make like remakes. I think that concept is so cool. I did feel like it dragged a little bit, like it just wasn't as entertaining as I wanted it to be with a concept like that, and maybe it had to do with the fact the movie that they were entering was like an old school romance similar to Casablanca, you know, and that's just not my kind of movie. Or maybe they were trying to go for a little bit more of like San Junipero episode with the romance and everything, but it definitely was not as strong as that romance, and I don't think they pushed it hard enough. So overall, I just felt like it was a little bit lacking, but I did enjoy it a lot more than Plaything, so that's why I had to go here. Right in the middle of the ranking, we have episode 6, USS Callister Into Infinity. Robert Daly is dead, but the crew of the USS Callister, led by Captain Nanette Cole, find that their problems are just beginning. Now, this is a full-length full-length episode. It's like an hour and a half, sequel to, of course, USS Callister episode from season 1, episode 1. Now, this obviously is sitting right in the middle of my ranking. Definitely wasn't the worst episode, not the best. It's honestly the most lackluster for me. Like, I don't know what I was necessarily expecting, but it was just okay. It was there. I wasn't really excited while I was watching it. You know, there were some moments. I think some of the characterization is really good and really entertaining for this, I don't know, the USS Callister world. I like the characters and the dynamics and things, so that's why it's ranked in the middle, because that is really the selling point for me, is all of the different characters. But it felt really different to the original USS Callister episode, which I do like, but it just felt very average to me. It didn't feel original, you know, like the concepts, the costuming, the set design, all of that kind of read a little cheap to me. Like the costuming was a little, I mean, it's hard because they're in a video game. So it's like, they're gonna be a little corny looking, a little cheap looking, because it's a video game. It's not actually in space.
Hi! What are you doing?
Filming a video.
What's that?
No. The series creator did say that there is a possibility that this world could be expanded on even more, so they might do more episodes. And honestly, after Into Infinity, I'm not super excited about that. I was excited for the sequel, but going forward, I feel like there's nothing else to really expand upon. In third place, we have episode 5, Eulogy, an innovative system that enables users to literally step into photographic memories of the past, leads a lonely man to re-examine a heartbreaking period in his life. Now, this is another story where we are being told most of it verbally. So we have a narrator instead of like fully showing the experiences, but I felt like the setting of this, walking through photographs while he's explaining stories of what was happening in the photographs that we're looking at, was way more interesting than like Cameron being in a interrogation room in Plaything. So it's similar format, that is just a story being told instead of us seeing things happen. But I absolutely loved the technology in this, and like I mean, first of all, this episode is painful. I could have guessed that from the title, knowing this was gonna hurt really bad. I do think it still deserves the same criticism, that it is a tad boring at times because of the storytelling and the way it's portrayed, the formatting of it. It does read a little bit boring at times, but then I think it picks up, and the end is just like, it honestly reminds me of one of the saddest things, in my opinion, in life, when especially elderly or older people make plans and don't have the time to follow through, or there are missed opportunities and you just have to live with that. And that, I think, is one of the most painful human experiences we can endure, and this episode really drove that home and really emphasized that for me. In second place, we have episode 2, Bete Noir. Maria is a high-flying development executive at a chocolate company. Everything is going well for her until someone she hasn't seen since school shows up for a focus group tasting session. It could be the chance for a heartfelt reunion, except there's something very odd about Verity, and Maria seems to be the only person who notices. This is the Mandela effect to the extreme, which is so fun. This story is so fun. This is one of those episodes where it's just pure entertainment. It's messing with your head, but it's not in a really depressing way. I also read that there are 2 different things that play out in for different viewers to really like drive home the Mandela effect. So you get 2 different things, pieces of information in the episode, depending on, it's just by random. This kind of reminds me of my favorite Black Mirror episode of all time, which is Nosedive. It has that fun element, but still based with technology. It's definitely not as good, but this is my second favorite episode of the season for a reason. This is one that I would rewatch because it's just fun, and the concept, so ludicrous. So ridiculous, but still makes for it to be really entertaining because the explanation is just like mind-blowing. This is definitely an episode that would be really entertaining to watch a second time because of all the details we might have missed. But I also love a story where a person is like kind of spiraling because of things outside of their control, because that is just builds so much tension. And I just think this is a really fun way to portray that kind of technology. However, I will say this is my least favorite tech in any of the episodes because I just personally find it so far-fetched and unbelievable, whereas the other episodes kind of feel a little bit more grounded in reality, whereas this one is just so asinine and weird and unbelievable that it kind of takes me out a little bit, but for entertainment purposes, I think it did its job. And finally, first place, of course, goes to episode 1, Common People. Now, was this the most entertaining one of all of them? No. but it was definitely the best. When a medical emergency leaves school teacher Amanda fighting for her life, desperate husband Mike signs her up for Rivermind, a high-tech system that will keep her alive, but at a cost. They started with such a strong episode this season. Like, I was just so excited for this. Can I say excited for the season? I was scared after watching this. I was like, oh gosh, they really are gonna do some heart-wrenching stories this time, aren't they? I just think the concept is just not that far off, to be honest. And if anything, this serves as like commentary of selling your dreams in order to afford the price to live. And that's what this episode is really about. Like, having to pay to use your brain. I mean, that we're not far off from that, I think. We already have to pay for natural resources. So why wouldn't they charge us in order to use our limbs too, you know? Especially without ads. When they did the ads, but this episode just had that classic Black Mirror of that ultimate dread that it could be our reality one day. And like the fear that it instills, especially in me, I could see something like that happening and them taking advantage of us like that. I just felt like this episode had the most impact. It was the most depressing episode. I had to just stare off for a while. I didn't sign up for that. I started with this episode and I was like, oh, I guess I'm gonna go to bed now and feel that for a little while. They're just sad. I don't even think, have they gone this sad before? Because to me, this feels like the most tragic episode almost. I would have to think about it, but for now, I'm going to say that because it was just so sad. And it just left me speechless how they portrayed everything in this episode and how horrific that would be, a world where we live in that kind of situation. So that is my ranking from worst to best of all the episodes of season 7 of Black Mirror. I would love to hear your favorites and least favorite episodes. If you want to do a full ranking in the comments, please do. Let's just talk about it in the comments down below. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.